Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another one of our episodes of the Friday Property Clinic. On this episode, we're doing it a little bit differently. Some of you may have seen that we've been promoting what we're calling our investment club. We put together an event called the Zambia Property Investor Club Seminar, which will be coming up soon. And Natasha and I thought actually it would be a really good idea for us to run through some of the things that you could potentially learn at the event so that you get a better understanding of what we're trying to achieve with the seminar, and you can see what you'll potentially learn, and then you can consider signing up for the event. So on this episode, we're just going to run through some of the things that you're going to learn, and Natasha and I will give you snippets into some of the information. And I mean snippets because there's so much more that we've got planned for the actual seminars. So just to start off, I'd like to say hello to my co-host, Natasha, who is over in Zambia. Natasha, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Tanya. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Are you looking forward to our event?
I'm so excited about it. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I'm actually excited about doing this video about the event. That's how excited I am about the event.
Excellent. Okay, so I think to begin with, just to give people an outline of what we're going to cover in this presentation. So the main topic we're looking at is I want to invest in Zambian property, but I don't know where to start. And effectively, what we're going to show you is what opportunities exist in the Zambian property market, how to plan for and create a property portfolio for the next 10 years. This gives you an example of, how you can plan your strategy, how to mortgage or finance your investments, and understanding the real costs of your property purchase. And then, of course, we're going to tell you about the different membership structures that we've got for the Zambian Property Investors Club, and how joining this club is actually going to save you time, money, and effort. I think it's important to say, we've been doing these clinics, and a lot of the issues that we're finding, Natasha, isn't it the case that we've kind of thought, actually, we can solve a lot of this through the club, and that's why we put this together. Is that how you feel?
Definitely. I think that people have really come to us with what the issues are, and I think they'll see that we've been responsive. We've been listening.
Yeah. Okay. So just to begin, I think, it's worth covering, Tasha. Do you want to run through what opportunities are in the Zambian market? Why do we think this is worth it, really?
Sure. Okay, so there's so many opportunities in the Zambian property market. We've seen that we've had steady economic growth for the last 10 years. I would actually say probably the last 20 years, despite the current conditions, which are quite difficult. We've seen massive investment into infrastructure, so roads, there have been massive road development projects, ICT, there's been a lot going into energy. We all know about the energy shortages that we've experienced in the last 2 years or so. Of course, a lot of investment also into health and education. We have a growing population, as we all know. I heard a statistic that there are probably 200,000 to 300,000 new Zambians being born every year. So just imagine the growth potential of that. We have a young population, and we are a highly urbanized country. I think one of the most urbanized in Africa. We have a housing deficit of 1.3 million units, and this is estimated to go up to 3 million by 2030. So already you can see that the opportunities are there. More specifically, the opportunities lie in the conversion of farmland into residential units. We've seen a lot of big farms which have been chopped up into smaller residential units over the last few years. We've seen public and private developers who have been building apartments and flats for sale. And all of this development in the residential sector has been complemented by retail development. So we've seen a lot of shopping malls, we've seen a lot of schools go up, we've seen a lot of restaurants, which is really changing the face of Zambian real estate. Now, some people might be thinking, have I missed the boat? Of course not. As I said, Zambia is still young, the real estate market is still growing, and so is the economy, actually. So the opportunities continue to exist because there's a growing demand for residential units. There's a growing demand for alternative real estate classes. And I think this is such an interesting area. So this includes student accommodation. It also includes starter homes, and those are homes for young professionals who are just getting their first job, fresh out of university, and also low-cost housing. Because with the deficit of housing, of course, not the majority of those are in low-cost, not high-cost housing. And then there's a growing demand for hospitality and commercial real estate. You recall, Tanya, a couple of weeks ago, we did the video on the project for the airport and how that's going to increase our visitors from 1 million to 6 million. All these new visitors will need somewhere to stay, and that's where the hospitality comes in for hotels, bed and breakfast, lodges. So really a lot of opportunities there. And in the current liquidity environment that we find ourselves in, it's a buyer's market. This means that if you've got money to buy property, this is the best time for you because you have the power to negotiate.
Absolutely, yeah. And interestingly enough, you know, you said if you've got the money, but I think it's also important for us to consider the fact, actually, you may not have the money, but like you said, it doesn't mean that you're going to miss the boat. So what we've tried to do is put together an outline of actually what happens if you were to plan and actually create a portfolio for the next 10 years. So it's not about having the money right now. It's about how do you put a strategy together that gets you the money to start to build your portfolio. And then within 10 years, where potentially could you be, you know, within the Zambian property market, considering all of those opportunities that exist. So at the event, what we're hoping to, well, what we're putting together is a way that shows you that, you know, it's about planning. So you need to understand why do you want to become a property investor? And I think so many people kind of think, oh, I want to have a plot of land at home, or I want to have, you know, a house. But what we want you to do here is actually think a lot deeper than that. You know, we want you to actually start to think about how would I create a strategy over the next 10 years so that I have more than just a plot of land or a home in Zambia. Potentially, I have a portfolio of 5, 10, 15 homes. So what we're going to teach you, we get you clear on what you're expecting to achieve. So you might be trying to create a retirement pot. So this is like your pension plan property strategy. This is where you're just going to have 1, 2, 3, X amount of properties, and you just rent them out and they give you a nice tidy income each month and so on. What you put that money into your pension pot and retirement plan, and it's perfect, you know, it's hassle-free and it ticks along quite nicely. You actually may be thinking about a job replacement strategy. So, you know, I'm going to go back to Zambia, or, you know, you're over here, but you're going to focus on property. This is going to be your next best, you know, the next big thing that you do. So how do I move from my current job to becoming a full-time property investor? So we take a look at that as well. So if you also want to start to build your assets, you need to understand the different types of assets that are available and how you could put these together. You know, you could be looking to buy just land and then build and then sell. You could be looking to buy something that already exists. Maybe you want to do up some plots, some existing properties, and then sell them on. And then you know, you might just want to be putting together your rentals. You want to have a nice tidy set of rental properties. So basically be clear on what's your real motivation to go into property investments, so that you understand how much effort is required. Because, you know, it sounds great, but property investment is hard work as well. And we want that to be clear to everyone, that, you know, it's not just relying on your friends and family to help you do this. This is your strategy and what you're putting together. Okay, so the other thing that we want you to do as well is to know where you're starting from. You know, financial planning is very important. If you don't have a clear foundation for your finances, you're not going to be anywhere in 10 years' time. You need to know where you're starting from. You need to be able to budget how much you're going to invest into your investments, and then, you know, how much you're going to live on and how much your investments are going to make. So you need to have clarity on those things. You need to know where you're going to borrow money from. You know, are you going to self-invest? Are you going to have a mortgage? Are you going to have a joint venture with somebody? there's lots of different options. There's not just one way of you to pay for your property strategy. And then you need to be clear on how involved you're going to be in the process. So if you're not going to be based in Zambia, who's going to look after your portfolio for you? As years tick by, it's easy to start to forget about things. It's easy for projects to stall. How are you going to make sure that doesn't happen? You need to have a professional and reliable team that's on the ground. Do not rely on friends and family. You need to know that the team that you put in place is working for you, not for themselves. And then, you need to make sure that you stay involved and engaged on the project the whole way through. So once you've bought 2 properties, how do you transition from 2 to 5? How are you going to stay motivated through that transition? Will it require more effort from you or less? So effectively, you need to know your end goal. Obviously, you're not doing this for fun. You're looking to make a return on your investment. So with each property purchase, have you clearly worked out the potential return on it? Or do you have a minimum requirement of a return? So for example, you might want a 25% return on your investment. How exactly are you going to achieve that through a particular property that you're going to buy? So this is all the deeper thinking that you need to do that we're going to be sharing at the seminar. I think one really important thing, though, I think especially when it comes to Zambian property, is make sure that the team on the ground is reliable and they understand your vision. Don't be drawn into people's visions because they will take you on a whole nother tangent. This is why we want you to plan your strategy for 10 years. So when somebody starts to take you off on a tangent, you're able to pull them back in line. Don't say, oh, my cousin said that, I should be doing X, Y, Z. You know what you want to be doing and you've got a strategy as to why you're doing it. Okay, so
why are you talking about 10 years? Because you're saying why are we going to be talking about 10 years? Because you're saying that how to plan and create your portfolio over 10 years, and people might be curious, why 10 years?
10 years is just a guide. There's no reason why you couldn't achieve it in a year. But we're talking about, you may have an existing lump sum. Straight away, you'll be able to start get your portfolio rolling. We may be talking about somebody who's got 2 jobs, has got a job, and this is their second job. So they don't have full time to focus on this. 10 years just gives you a guide of how long you could potentially take to work through the market, but you can achieve it definitely in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years, and that's part of your planning. That shows how aggressive you want to be in your portfolio building, basically. So
yeah, and I think that it's also important for people to understand that if you really want to create wealth, then that takes time and patience.
Absolutely, yeah. And if this is going to be your full-time job, more than likely your investment has to return within 1 to 3 years. Because then that you're doing something right, and you're going to be more aggressive. So whereas over the 10 years, it just gives 10 years could actually mean I'm going to have 30 properties by 10 years, as opposed to 2 properties. You just need to decide what 10 years looks like for you. And I mean, in theory, certainly in the UK, between 7 to 10 years is actually how long it takes for a property to double in value. So it will be interesting to see how that affects your plan if you think that you're buying and selling straight away, or if you're going to buy in Zambia and keep for 10 years. Effectively, the property, the portfolio that you build up can actually double in value, and that's a fantastic experience to go through, to know that now your property portfolio is worth twice as much. So 10 years just gives you a
time.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great in terms of planning, but one of the other things that we know is important is you need to understand the real cost of buying property in Zambia. So do you want to just run through some of those bits, Tasha?
Sure. So of course, people usually focus on the purchase price. How much will the land or an apartment or a house cost me? But the other costs of buying property that are really important to know. So one is your legal costs. How much will it cost for that property to be transferred into your name? And you do want it to be legal costs so that you make sure that the people doing it for you do a good professional job. There are also registration fees, which are the processing fees at Ministry of Lands. You need to know what those are. For many developers now, you will have to pay property transfer tax. Not in all cases, in some cases, make sure you understand the contract and what it says and your obligation in that sense. Property transfer tax is a tax that's imposed by the government. At the moment, it's 5%, but there was a time when it was as high as 10%. So you need to know what this cost is. Sometimes some developers will pass on surveying fees to you. So if you're buying from a piece of land that's being subdivided, you may have to pay that. Utilities, very important. Some developers provide the infrastructure for utilities, others don't. So you may find that you have to connect to ZESCO or some other power provider. It can only be ZESCO at the moment. But you may find that you have to take into account the cost of drilling a borehole or connecting to Lusaka water, depending on where you're buying. And then the cost of actually owning the property. And if it's bare land, then you have to build. You have to build within 12 months, at 6 months actually, at least at the bare minimum, a foundation. You also have to pay ground rent to the government. And then there are also rates that are payable by the council. So just keep these costs in mind. Now, I want to talk about the actual Zambia Property Investor Club that we're going to be promoting at the event. And we're just going to really give you a little bit of information about it right now. We're going to have a nominal membership fee. And for this fee, you're going to get so much. You're going to get free webinars on really hot real estate topics, really exciting information that you'll really be hard-pressed to find anywhere else online. We're going to give you information on new and special property offers, and you're going to hear about them first. We're also going to give you one-to-one consultation. So we know a lot of you have many questions that we can't answer in these property clinics, but by being part of our investor club, then we will give you the time to answer your questions in much more detail. We're also going to give you attractive discounts when you choose to purchase, when you're ready to make your first purchase, and also updated reports on the real estate sector. So we're really excited about this investor club. Now, when you're ready to buy, we have different club tiers. And I'm just going to say a little bit about these, just to give you a jonko, so to speak. So we have the Chilimba Club, which is the self-made group to buy property jointly. So you pool your money together with your friends or your colleagues there in the diaspora where you are, and you can buy a property that you otherwise couldn't afford on your own. Once you finish buying that property, you subdivide and you each have your own title deed to the property. Then we have the Yonse Club, and this is the person who has the money to make their own contribution, but they want us to pool them with other people who are ready to buy there and then. That's the Yonse Club. Then we have the Tamanga Club, and this is the person who wants to buy. They want us to help them form the club, but they would want to pay over installments. And this is what we call the Tamanga Club. I know I haven't gone into a lot of detail, but please do sign up and attend our seminar where we'll give you a lot more information. But this is really the key to get you on the Zambian property ladder, because it doesn't get more affordable than the Investor Club.
Excellent. Okay, so just a minute, sorry. I'm just clearing out the slides that we were just running through. Okay.
I should mention, sorry, Tanya, I should mention that the event is on 18th of May at the Zambian High Commission, and it starts at 16 hours.
In London.
In London.
Yes, and we're really excited by this, and hopefully, I mean, this is the first one that we're going to run, but hopefully we'll run a few others, and certainly the stuff that comes out of it, you know, like the webinars and the information, it's such vital information for people in the diaspora who aren't able to access this information directly, and I think we found like a real thirst in people, you know, they want to know more, so this is the best way for us to be able to, you know, dedicate the time to getting all this information for you and sharing it out with you. So we're really excited by it. And again, just to run through what you'll learn at these seminars. So most of the stuff that we've been through on this presentation, but so much more. But we're going to look at the opportunities that exist in the Zambian property market. We're going to run through planning and creating of a property portfolio for the next 10 years. We're going to look at your mortgaging or financing for your investments. Looking deeper into the costs of buying your property purchase. And then, of course, one of the other things that we've got, we're going to have some guest speakers there. We've got investment advisors, we've got property developers, and property investors. So it's like a wealth of information that's going to be there. And we're both very excited about it. So hopefully you will sign up. The link is going to be in the notes below on our Facebook page. There's an Eventbrite page where you can access the link and place your ticket purchase on. And yeah, we're very excited about it, and we can't wait to see you. So anything else to add, Tasha?
No, just to say that we are really bringing together experts. It won't just be me and Tanya if you're tired of hearing me and Tanya's voices. We're bringing together real experts in their field, in property, in investment. I just think it's a fantastic opportunity. We're so passionate about empowering Zambians who are living abroad with opportunities to be wealth creators in Zambia. Absolutely. Through property.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's a good place to wrap up our episode, and we look forward to seeing you all there. And definitely, obviously, we'll be back with more episodes of the Friday Property Clinic, back into our normal format. And we've got actually some really interesting ones coming up. I mean, everything's always interesting when we start to talk about it, and we're like, oh, we have to get this person in. So hopefully everyone is as excited as we are, although I think they're not. But but yeah, I think just on that, thank you everyone for watching again. Natasha, thank you for joining me again, of course. And we will see you all on the next episode. Take care. Bye. Bye, Tasha.
Bye, Tanya.